Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Healing Tapestries. I'm Tanya. Today, I'm honored to have a really special guest join us. Her name is Scarlett, and she is a dedicated, conscious, connected breathwork facilitator. So, we're not only going to explore what conscious, connected breathwork is for those of you that might not be aware, but also how this powerful breathwork practice has supported her through her own healing journey, through times of loss and also sobriety. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and I know that you're going to find it just as inspiring as I do. So let's dive in. Welcome, Scarlett, to Healing Tapestries. I'm really excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. Just
Yeah.
have like an open conversation.
Yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And so maybe, Scarlett, to start us off, it would be helpful for all of us to know a little bit about you. And since we're on the topic of breath work, you can tell us a little bit about the breath work that your breathwork practice. There's lots of breathwork practices, but the one that is part of your practice and how you got into it to begin with.
Yeah, okay. I'll try not to go on for too long with this, but yeah, currently and for the last few years or so, I've been a breathwork facilitator, and along the way, that's kind of evolved a little bit into mostly private healing sessions and group healing sessions, I call them now, because it's not just breathwork, it's so much more. But the type of breathwork mainly that I facilitate is conscious connected breathwork. So it's in and out through the mouth, mostly is the invitation, and it's basically to help release things from the body, release trauma, release old beliefs, stories, emotions, things that we've been holding on to for perhaps ever
Yeah.
since we were born, or maybe just for something big that happened to us a year ago or whatnot. We all go through so much, and as humans, we tend to just push it down and keep going,
Yeah.
right? Like just keep going. You got this, be strong. And it's like that's actually not very beneficial to us. And then it shows up in other ways by stress and just anxiety and depression and all the ways that it shows up in our body, sometimes physical illness and ailments. And so the work that I do and the invitation is really to release these things so we can make space. So we can make space to actually move forward in like a more clear way, a more like self-connected way. So life doesn't feel quite so hard all the time. That
Mm.
pretty much sums it up.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for that summary. And, it's the reason why I wanted to have this topic on the podcast is, being a therapist, I recognize that, yes, there's value in understanding what's happening in our mind, but our body holds so much. And so, as you
Mm,
said, when you keep pushing that down, what goes down eventually comes up sideways. So
yes.
having these practices to create that first of all, that pause and then that space and what comes with that space in terms of releasing and inviting something new and healing is pretty profound. How did you get started with it? Tell us a little about your journey with it.
Yeah. So I was newly sober. I had drank a lot since I was a teen just to cope because basically I was like a super highly sensitive person always, so child. And every situation, every environment to me just felt overwhelming. I was constantly overwhelmed in life.
Mhm.
As far back as I can remember. I was the kid that would just like freeze up and like burst into tears, and everyone would be like, "What's wrong?"
Mm,
And I didn't even know because I would just be
right.
so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I was just feeling it all, right? I was like picking up on everybody's energy, on all of it.
Yeah.
And it was too much for a little person. So
Mhm.
when I became a teenager and alcohol was introduced,
Mhm.
it was like, oh, this is taking away all those hard feelings that are always there.
And so quickly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
magic.
Yeah.
So I relied on alcohol as a coping mechanism for many years, and it was so normalized. I was in the hospitality industry, fine dining, like liquor store supervisor,
Yeah.
fine wine, like sommelier sort of status. It was very much like acceptable, right? And it was like almost looked, I was almost looked at in like awe in a sense. There wasn't anything wrong with it. It was like, oh yeah, I'm drinking a
Mhm.
$50 bottle of wine. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
It's celebrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and as I had kids, I noticed it was that whole mommy wine culture too. It was like, oh, just, yeah, just sit down and have a drink and all your worries will go away because it's hard to be a parent, right?
Mm.
And then when my body just basically started screaming at me, like every time I would drink more than just like a regular couple drinks, I'd wake up in the morning and I would be feeling so sick, like throwing up, so anxious, that anxiety. And I finally listened. And ironically, my mom was had just had a stroke, alcohol induced, and was moved into a care home. So there
Okay.
was a lot of like the universe being like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
listen to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I finally listened. And then that was the beginning of my wellness journey because I started just living more clean, but all of a sudden all the feelings came back.
Now you had to feel them. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do with all
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
feelings? Right. So I was like working out, I was going to therapy, I was meditating, I was journaling, I was like doing all the right things.
Yeah.
And then I was still feeling like something was missing. Like I didn't even feel like myself. I didn't even know who I was.
Yeah.
And when I went to a breathwork journey for the first time, I was like, I felt so much lighter afterwards. It was like I had just let go of so much weight I had been carrying, like
Mm.
all of these things I've been pushing down for so many years,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
many, many years, like 27 years
Wow.
probably, right? And I was just kind of hooked. I was like, I need to know everything about this. So I just started researching how I could learn more. And then I ended up doing my own training. It was like an intensive 8 month course. And the biggest thing about that was that we had to do an inner journey alongside with it, like a deep inner journey. And I notice now as being somebody who works with clients and that we tend to like kind of pick and choose what we want to work on.
Yeah.
And so this made me like go all in.
Yeah.
And it was like from 0 to current age
Yeah.
and using breath work along the way to support us. And it
Mm.
was just so life changing.
Yeah.
I just felt so much like I was connected to myself on such a deeper level. Like I just knew what I needed
Yeah.
without needing to Google anything or ask for advice. Like I just had this inner knowing.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of how I ended up getting
Well,
into this industry.
that's a big journey. That's a really big journey. And, going back to the very beginning of what you just said, being a sensitive child. And I think that we have the tendency to kind of pathologize being sensitive in the world. And when we get any hint of those early messages, like it's too much or you can't handle or whatever it is, the message is,
Mhm.
we just push it all down. And I think, many people that are listening or watching here can probably relate to that. And alcohol, it's like, yeah, it's quick magic. And it's no wonder why it's such a slippery slope for people. So those are huge changes, my dear. Yeah, I just want to
Mhm.
acknowledge that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I like the part where you kind of have to face the stuff. Like you said, we do have the tendency to kind of pick and choose what we want to work on. But when we do, and all those pieces line up, and we're just so connected to ourselves in that way, there's no going back from that. You can't undo that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that being said, like when I first did my training, I remember guiding a few breathwork circles, journeys, whatever you want to call them. And it was, there was some really powerful experiences for people. And I remember feeling like, whoa, this is a lot to hold. And I kind of paused and went back and did some more schooling and some more training and did like integrative trauma training and more somatics and just some more layers and levels to be able to hold and meet people where they're at and know when was too much to push.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do have a little bit more than just that as far
Yeah.
as training goes, and it was really helpful.
I think that's important, to be able to not just hold and sort of contain that space but to know what to do with what's coming up in that space
Mhm.
is really important. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So the first time that I was introduced to conscious connected breathwork, I was doing a Kundalini retreat some time ago in Costa Rica, and I didn't know it was going to be part of the program. And then, once I was there and she explained it and I did my first breathwork journey, it's not, I had no idea how profound that would be. And the next day I'm like, are we going to do that breathwork thing again? Because things shifted. Like I had, well, I won't go into, the specifics of my process, but it was really profound for me and a really big part of my journey and healing and moving forward. So I can speak to how profound that is, certainly from an individual perspective.
Yeah, and
Okay.
everybody has such a different experience
Yeah.
too. And
Yeah.
even each client, because I do have regular clients, like I do 12-week programs, so they'll come once every 2 weeks. And every time you show up, like however you're showing up, it's going to be a completely different experience depending on what you need. And it's just trusting the body and the breath. So, like you said, sometimes it can be like a really intense, profound experience where you have all of these messages come through, or maybe visuals, like almost psychedelic, or it
Mm.
might be completely somatic, where you're just
Yes.
feeling like
Yes.
everything in the body and your mind is just completely on a different level, right? Like different brainwave state. That's the best part is that usually your thinking mind goes offline and you don't have to think anymore. And that's all we do all day long. It's
Yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah.
So,
We're addicted to thinking, that's for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So on that note, like I always like to bring in that mental health piece. How do you think that has really been beneficial to somebody's mental health and well-being? And maybe you might want to think of some examples or an example of some changes of people that you've worked with in that context.
hmm I think the biggest thing, which I kind of touched on already with myself, is learning to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the biggest things that comes up with clients, especially clients I work with longer term, is that they learn to trust themselves and that understand that like they hold on to all the wisdom and they
Mhm.
have all the answers.
Mm.
And that is like the most powerful thing. So when we're taking care of ourselves, when we're showing up, when we're recognizing that it's important to be heard and seen and be in a safe space, and then to have that extra level of like releasing what's not serving us anymore,
Mm.
we are learning to trust ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a big message, that
hmm
just that, in the end, we have it all inside. We have the knowledge, we have the ability, it's just accessing it. And, the tool is the breath and you provide that sort of space to be able to access that. Yeah.
hmm Yeah. And it really is like the client is doing all their own work. I
Hmm.
am there holding the space and inviting,
Hmm.
but they're doing it all themselves. Like occasionally I might offer something that I notice or specific suggestions as far as like little at-home practices to nurture their journey.
Hmm.
Um, but I would never offer like advice, like,
Hmm.
okay, well, hearing that, you need to go do this now. It's very much like when they're ready, I might ask some deep questions to help them kind of like bring out those answers that they do have inside.
Yeah.
And I might have to ask the same question like 5 times for it to come out. And in group sessions, we'll do that sometimes where we ask each other the same question like
Yeah.
3 or 4 times because we are used to just pretending we're fine,
Yeah.
right? And it's like
Got
when you
these
see somebody at
layers
the
of
grocery
protection.
store, how are you doing? Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Thanks. How are you? And it's like, are either of you fine? Like,
Let me
what's
ask
really
you
going
three more
on?
times until we get the answer. Because we
Yeah.
have these layers. We have these layers and they're protective and maybe at some
Mhm.
time are really helpful for us to, survive, but don't help us thrive. They don't help us,
Yes.
in the end, they just don't help us. So yeah.
Mhm.
So I've been to some different breathwork sessions and also did some training, and each one was different. Can you walk us through for somebody that has no idea what this looks like? You gave us
Mhm.
a little bit of an idea of sort of the type of breath work practice, but if someone's walking in the room, what would they expect?
Yeah. Do you mean like a group session or a one-on-one?
What maybe both or whatever one you'd like to share today. Yeah.
Okay. So for a one-on-one session, a private healing session, I blocked 2 hours. So it's a 2-hour session. It's $175. And the reason I changed it to 2 hours from 90 minutes was because I just always felt like we needed that little bit of extra time, mostly for integration at the end, to be able to like just be and whatever needs to come out to come out. But basically, you would arrive in my studio in Lake Cowichan, and I would offer you a tea, and we would sit down in a comfortable little area and just have a chat for about 15 minutes, well, maybe a little bit less. Have a little chat. How are you showing up? What's going on? Whatever they feel like they want to share. It might be really surface level. It might be the first time you've been heard in a long time, and a bunch is just filled. And then I will generally guide you through just a little bit of a grounding felt sense meditation to just like check in with yourself, notice what's going on within the body, maybe a couple somatic practices to really like feel some sensations, like connecting, communicating to the body.
Mhm.
So a little like baby step towards that journey. And then we might pull an oracle card and we might have a little bit of chocolate, depending.
Mhm.
Just a really nice, comfortable
Mhm.
beginning. And then we'll move into the treatment room where I have a nice, comfortable bed set up. It's a Thai meditation mat. So it is usually like on the floor, but like a nice, comfortable mat. And you would lay down with your eyes closed. And I would explain this all to you before we went in there,
Mhm.
but you would with potentially an eye mask if you would like one, blankets, a bolster, just really comfortable, taking that extra time to make sure you're comfortable. And then it would be an hour-long playlist that is carefully selected to support the journey, to support the different brainwave states, to support emotion, and potentially even support like an intention that they came with. Like, I really want to focus on loving myself, or I really want to focus on releasing fear. If there was something they shared, then I might have curated that playlist to focus a little bit more on that.
Okay.
And it's basically like a mountain. So the playlist starts off really nice and slow, and you would begin breathing the conscious connected breath. And I would be guiding with my voice. I would also use gentle touch to help guide the breath, like maybe on the chest or the belly. Sometimes I'll do like intuitive energy assist work as well. I'll weave in some craniosacral and some Reiki, if the client wants that. And they would breathe for the extended period of time. Some emotions might come up. The invitation is to allow for any sound, any emotions, any movement, even. Sometimes we experience different feelings in the body, like tremoring, your body's natural way of releasing, or sometimes little spasms or tightness, cramping. So many things can happen. They'll reach a peak where I would invite them to increase the tempo of the breath. And it's really building a charge in order to release extra energy to allow for a discharge on the other side. And then things would slow down again. And then we would eventually come back to a breath in and out through the nose, lots of time to kind of return back to that parasympathetic state. And then we would make our way back to seated, where I would offer fruit and usually some sort of nourishing granola bar.
Mhm.
Everyone's always hungry after breath
Yeah.
work, so that part's really important. And
Yeah,
fruit
true.
tastes amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's usually like some raspberries or pineapple or something.
Nice. Nice.
Have more tea, and then the invitation is for them to just share anything that came up and just process a little bit through words, or maybe write in their journal, and just
Mm.
have that time for some integration.
Mhm.
And before we kind of close our safe space and say goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first, I just want to say I've yet to go to a breathwork session where I was offered tea and fruit, so and chocolate. So that's
Oh,
already appealing to me.
yeah.
It sounds very gentle, and like you said, you're taking small steps towards it, right? And it sounds like you're connecting with them all along the journey in whatever way feels comfortable with them. So that sounds so gentle, and I think that's so important.
Mhm.
Talk about like integration. So
Yeah.
if somebody has only had one breathwork session, as I know for me, when I left after just doing one, I was like, I've got all this stuff. What do I do with this?
Mhm.
What might you say about that in terms of someone's process? What you would advise or what would be helpful?
Yeah, I always recommend people let their people, whoever they maybe are going to be around, whoever they live with, if they have a partner, a friend, whoever is going to be near them, that they might be feeling a little bit tender, they might be feeling a little bit emotional, they might need extra love, or they might need extra space.
Yeah,
And it's a really great time to journal,
yeah,
I find. And I always recommend getting into water, like a bath,
yeah.
or in the summer, like maybe the lake or somewhere, and to be in nature.
Mm.
Eat really nourishing food, drink lots of water, get sleep, and don't. I always say in the email before people come to try not to plan anything overstimulating for later that day or even the next day,
Yeah,
because our body's still processing a lot and it can be interrupted, which can actually cause challenges to be able to move forward, like almost like stuck energy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, I always come back to, even just as you're saying that, how helpful it is when you can bring all these pieces together. So say stuff comes up in breathwork, and certainly I've had clients come to me where they've had breathwork experiences and I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. This is, something that's come up that's new for them. Or for people that have felt something somatically and want to work more with their body after a session, just thinking about how all these pieces can work together, in a holistic approach for our well-being is,
Mhm.
yeah, it's important.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I often
Mm,
will recommend people to just start noticing their breath and their body more and other people's
mm,
breath
mhm.
and watch their animals. Like watching your animals is a
Yeah,
really great, and be more like them is a
yeah,
really great piece
yeah,
of advice. Like they
yeah,
are really good at integrating and they're really good at releasing trauma on their own because they don't have the busy thinking mind like we do.
yeah,
They live in their bodies.
yeah,
And so when they are moving from one activity to the next, they're like integrating in the most beautiful way by like shaking or stretching or yawning or not getting up right away and letting themselves lay there in the sun for 20 minutes,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Whereas we are like lists, one thing to the next, go, go,
Totally.
go. I don't have time for that. And
Yeah,
then, like you said, like it's going to come up at some point, right? Or it's like that kinked hose
yeah,
visual. Like I love that. It's like a hose that's kinked, and then
yeah,
it's like soon enough, it's just gonna start like
yeah.
spraying out. So yeah, it's
Mhm,
just being gentle with yourself, listening, communicating. Yeah, seeing a therapist maybe alongside of somatic work. I know
mhm.
you've recommended a couple people to me, so thank you for
Mm,
that.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really believe in all of these practices and, I've experienced them personally, but also experienced profound, or witnessed or observed profound changes in people I've worked with, right? That have brought in these practices, in their life. I mean, even just your individual story. I mean,
Hmm.
and you're not drinking it. You went through, so it helped you get through to sobriety. It sounds like that was a big part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, and I have been through a lot of like really hard stuff too in the last few years. Like I've lost both my parents in the last 3 years, which is just wild to
Yeah.
think about that. And I know that if I wasn't on this wellness journey, or if I wasn't loving myself
Yeah.
the way that I do,
Mhm.
I would be a mess. Like I would just be a total mess. I'd be back in that survival mode,
Yeah.
just like on that hamster wheel, just getting through the days, getting through angry, resentful, emotional, drinking, like all the things and getting nowhere.
Yeah.
Whereas now I know when it feels like too much. I know when I'm triggered and I'm able to be like, oh, what was that? Oh, I feel like really hot all of a sudden and kind of angry. Like, what is that? And I'm like, can give myself 5 minutes to sit with it and be like, oh, it's because they said that to me. And that's what my dad said to me when I was 7. And I felt like I didn't matter. And
You
I can
connect the
connect it
dots.
all.
Connect the dots.
Yeah.
But it starts with that pause and that, compassionate sort of inquiry to be able to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are big changes in your life, and I could see how it would be such an anchor in, given everything that you've been through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even just like the part of not feeling so alone, like
Mm.
connection is so big, obviously, like for our nervous system. too, right? Like connecting
To
to others and
co-regulate. And yeah.
yeah, and connecting to ourselves and
Yeah.
connecting to the world and connecting
Yeah.
to spirit
Hmm.
and just like getting the opportunity to connect with so many people going through hard things. It's like that's what it's like when you're in circle too, when you're in a group session and there's 10 people there and you might show up and you might say nothing, but you might just listen and you might hear like three or four people say something that like truly resonated with you. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I'm like, not alone. They're going through something too. And I just think that is like such a big part of this journey too, the healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's common humanity. It's connecting to this idea of common humanity, that we have these individual journeys, but that there's something that we all share in this experience, right? Or we wouldn't have names for them,
Mhm.
right? The feelings and the
Yeah.
things. And so being able to connect with people is so important. So as we're talking, and maybe if we have some viewers or listeners that
Mhm.
this is their first time really understanding what it means, it might be very excited to try, and some might be apprehensive because it sounds very vulnerable. Do you have
Mhm.
any sort of insights or words of wisdom or encouragement that might be helpful for somebody that's interested but a bit nervous?
Yeah, I would just say to grab a friend,
Hmm.
maybe,
Hmm.
and give it a try. You don't have anything to lose. Like, really, everything is always an invitation. There's never any pressure.
Hmm.
Try a group session
Hmm.
and see how it makes you feel. Like, it's always so beautiful to hear people's first experiences.
Yeah.
And it's even if you just lay there and breathe and notice your breath for an hour, that is going to be so beneficial to your nervous system right there.
Yeah.
And so, if you're curious, if you're thinking, this sounds interesting, then that's your body's nudge being
Yeah.
like, yeah, I should try that. I should
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, 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 I like that. Yeah, it's funny because I've been asking this question to the people I've been interviewing, in terms of what would you offer somebody, and it's like there's a common denominator here. Grab a friend. You don't have to do this alone.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
this easy, check it out or learn a little bit more about it, but you make a good point. If you're listening right now, it's because you're curious. So listen to
Hmm.
that part that's curious, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Scarlett, I really appreciate you coming on board tonight and sharing with us, not just about your practice but also your own personal journey, right? I think
Yeah.
it's,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, there's so much of what you shared tonight that I think many people can connect with. So, thank you. Very valuable.
Thanks. Actually, if I can say one more thing, just when you mentioned that, it made me think of just before I was about to come on here with you tonight, I was getting dinner ready for my family, and then there was like lots happening with my daughter's emotions, and
Yeah.
they're 10 and 12, so there's always lots of emotions
Yeah.
happening. But just being a parent, being a mother, being a parent, it's not easy. And I have many clients that are parents, and this is one of the most helpful ways to release some of that built up stress
Yeah.
or anger or whatever's coming up um, with that part of life because it's not easy. And
Yeah.
so
No.
it
Oh
just
my
made me think
goodness.
of it when you were
Yeah.
said something. I was like, oh yeah, and parenting.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, my kids are all grown up now, adults, and I think, my goodness, if I'd had these practices when I was a young mom, oh my goodness, that would have been so
Yeah,
helpful.
right? Me
Yeah,
too. I just did that whole
yeah,
trend of like 2016, like post what you were doing in 2016. And
yeah,
my girls were like 1 and 3 or
yeah,
something. And I'm just like, oh, if I was like showing up the way I am now for
yeah,
those girls, then like I know we're all on our own
yeah.
journey for a reason, but I was like, just seeing the moms and the dads
Mhm.
show up and like break those cycles and just really show up to take care of themselves first. It's just, it's beautiful.
It is
So, yeah.
beautiful, and
Hmm.
it's important. Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, well, before we wrap up, I know that you do so much more than just offer breathwork sessions. So, can you tell us a little bit about the other programs that you offer and how people can find you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, me and my business partner, Julie, we own Intention Wellness Space in Lake Cowichan. So it's a wellness studio. We do offer regular yoga classes. We have a couple of other amazing yoga instructors. And then we each offer our own things. So I do regular monthly group breath journeys or healing sessions, whatever you want to call them. And then I also offer regular sober circles. So a sober circle is a 2-hour circle where anybody who's sober or sober curious can show up and allow for some time for reflection. There's usually some sort of breath work or energy release, journaling, connection with others on a similar path.
Yes.
I also offer one of those in the Souk and Langford area once a month, and I'm just about to start one in Duncan too. So
Hey, good to know.
yeah, and then I mainly focus on my private healing sessions. So I see 5 or 6 clients a week in the studio as well,
Okay.
and I can accommodate Zoom sessions as well. They're
Okay,
just
that's what I was
not,
going to ask. Yeah.
yeah, if upon request, I will definitely accommodate. It's just not like a regular thing.
A different
Yeah.
experience. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've experienced both as well, in person, then also doing it over
Mm.
Zoom. And it's different. Neither one is, better than the other necessarily. It's just a different experience. But I
Yeah.
am aware that there may be some viewers and listeners out there that aren't living on the island. And so
Yeah.
for those that are curious about connecting with you, it's nice to know that they can do so online. And do you
Mhm.
do like your online work? Is it breath work? Practice, or is it something different that you do online?
No, it would be like the same healing session, like a one-on-one healing session. I did offer actually a group one not that long ago, just to kind of put feelers out. So it might be something that I'll move into. I just haven't committed yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Hmm.
You have a lot going on already, my dear.
Yeah, I know. Trying to
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah. Well, and it's all good stuff. And our communities appreciate you and all that you do. So thank you so much for coming on board tonight. It was a real pleasure to connect with you, Scarlett. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thanks for being the one to hold this space to be able to get this message out to so many people, because that's really how it all starts. I know that's how it started for me, listening
Mhm.
to podcasts and
Mhm.
feeling like, oh, what's that? I hear about that. And oh, I'm not so alone. And so, yeah, thank you so much. I truly appreciate being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. And who knows, maybe we'll find you here again, bring Julie on board and have
Yeah.
some more topics. But for now, thank you and you take good care and we will talk soon.
Okay. Thanks, Tanya.
Okay, thanks,
Bye.
Scarlett. Bye now.